Hello everyone, welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Hemvar, and today I'm doing my weekly update. This is number 48 for the 22nd of July 2023. And I'm wearing a silly hat because I actually graduated this week. Hallelujah. Took forever, it feels like. But yeah, that was exciting. That is probably the highlight of this week. Also, the fact that I also hit 2 years with this channel um, as well. Today, I'm recording. I always record this the night before, for those unaware. And today marks the first or 2 year anniversary of my first video being uploaded, which was the BookTube newbie tag. Um, so yeah, it's been it's been wild because 2 years ago I was not actually even registered at the school I just graduated from. But the school I guess I don't go to anymore. They do trimesters, and I was able to attend all three, but I didn't do all three because I was only there for 2 years, right? But it was more like a year and a half. So I did their winter semester, which is generally during where most schools have their spring. So it's January through like April. Um, it's slightly shorter, I think, than normal. And then I did their spring, which is April to July, right? Which is hence why I graduated now. Uh, the last time during fall semester, I did my internship, and then I did the winter and spring semesters again. So it only took a year and a half. But I had taken a year break for that. 2021, I didn't do any school, and 2020 was a mess because of the pandemic. So, um, anyways, that was fun. I'm glad to finally be graduated. I'm really excited for things to come. Hopefully, I'm in the process of looking for a job. I have a job, right? That the one I've been working while going to school, but it doesn't pay well. The hours aren't the best. They're flexible, which is nice for when I was in school. But I'd like to get a job more in the field. I graduated with a BA in humanities. Um, I already had an AGS, Associate of General Studies. Um, though at that school, where I technically got a general studies degree in the end, but I did almost all their anthropology classes, and I did take all their French classes. So yeah. But here's to this week, I guess, because I generally just talk about um, what I read this week. So for those unaware, though, I guess the day this comes out, if you're watching this in the morning, or wherever the heck I guess you happen to be, if you're watching this early, the first 6-7 hours after this comes out, um, I will be doing a live stream with Raf on his channel, Raf Blue Tax. His monthly live stream, monthly Marxist malcontent. I'm not a Marxist, but I like hanging out with Raf. He's not quite a Marxist either, I think is probably what he'd say. But so if you want to come hang out, I think we'll probably be talking like sword and sorcery and other things. The thumbnail is straight out of Linkmar, and it's our faces pasted on Fafnir and Grey Masters. So I did get this little graduation gift. Happy graduation, Liam. I only saw three of the faculty there, three of the full-time humanities faculty, the department. So I graduated with the College of Language and Letters, right? And there's a few departments in that college, and the humanities and philosophy department. There was 5 graduates that walked, 5. So I was one of 5. Um, Not a very popular major. I was also the only male, or man, I guess, at all, and so not it skews that way as well. There's a lot more women in the major, which doesn't really matter. Obviously, I'm just like it's just interesting, like to see how small it is and like how much it skews towards women. Interestingly enough, so but yeah, I got this pin from I don't imagine probably the department chair who's in charge of this, Nomnia Paratus, which basically in all things prepared, if I'm remembering correctly. So I know it's in all things, and I would say Paratus is probably prepared. Of course, it's Latin. I like the Omnia sayings. You got Vincit omnia amor. It was probably not the sub-object verb order you generally put it in, but or like veritas, replacing amor and stuff like that. So, um, anyways, yeah, cool pin made of wood. We'll see how I haven't actually used it yet, so we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna keep this on my desk now. Yeah. Anyways, I first 5 minutes and I haven't even got to any of the books I read. So first thing I'll tell you about is I read an article in here, the Dark Man Journal of Robert E. Howard and Pulp Studies. This is the latest issue of the journal. And I had read a couple of these about a month ago, but I just read Scholarly Note, The Veil of Lost Women, Robert E. Howard's Worst Conan Story by Frank Kaufman. It's a very interesting article. It goes over kind of some problems it has, which is funny because the previous story was about like how Tusen Thune is bad, essentially. It's just hating on Howard in this one. But it's got this table of the sword and sorcery superordinate genre conventions, and they're pretty accurate. And I like that he uses a lot of fancy words I've never heard of before, and I'm not sure he might even be making some of them up, but they work. There's a second table as well. So I thought those tables were pretty useful. I mean, they're pretty like spot on, but still. Like he says, anapatism and anathemism, as opposed to anachronism or with anachronism. So he basically says some of the problems are like the women and the racism, which show up in some other stories as well, but like the other bad parts of the story. I don't believe the story was actually published while he was alive, but it was one of his kind of earlier stories. And it just it also has like makes I think 2 references at least to like Judeo-Christian mythology, you could say, and this should be before that, and you don't have those references in other Conan stories, for example. So it kind of just is. It actually quotes On Fairy Stories by Tolkien, and how it's saying he's kind of like the thing is shattered, the disbelief has stopped, right? So the other short thing I read this week, since I started with the short stuff, was Haita the Shepherd, Haita, the Shepherd by Ambrose Bierce. Very short story. The first, supposedly, according to my brother, so he's probably correct, but story to have a character named Hastur, who would become in Chambers the King in Yellow. He would be the King in Yellow, and then he would be different in Lovecraft's King in Yellow as well. So the books I read this week, though, I finished 4. I finished Beneath the Web by Lynn Abbey. I loved this book. This was awesome. It's basically about abuse. It's about humans and like their fallibility and tendencies the human race has, right? It tends to be, in a lot of cases at least, to mistreat women more than men, and also the poor more than the rich. There's magic in this world, of course, but I would say there's really no heroes in this story. Now, it is still a good story. I found it very entertaining. It's not something that's gonna like rip everything to shreds and say like something a lot of people wouldn't enjoy, right? It is from the early '90s, and it is a sequel to The Wooden Sword, but it's a duology only. I really enjoyed this though. It just does not go the way you would expect. Really at all. I came into the Beneath the Web expecting that because the Wooden Sword did that. But I'm a big fan of Lynn Abbey. When people say writers who do characters well, and a lot of people on BookTube will mention Robin Hobb. I haven't read enough of Robin Hobb to really agree or disagree. But Lynn Abbey is who comes to mind, honestly. She's best known for her Thieves World stuff. And then I did read The Druid of Shannara by Terry Brooks. This is book 2 in the Heritage Shannara series, my old hardcover right here. This is okay. Not my favorite. It's really not bad. It's a little long for what it should be, and it's, well, not bad. It's not great. I've read a lot better fantasy. Still, my favorite Shannara book is The Elfstones of Shannara, and I don't know if the last 2 books in the Heritage Shannara can change that. I'm not planning on reading them soon because this just didn't grab me as much as some other series. And speaking of a series that did grab me more, we have The Lair of Bones, which is actually the first book I finished this week by David Farland. Book 4 in the Rune Lords. This finishes off an arc. It definitely feels like an ending, but it also at the same time, when you finish it, besides if you didn't know there was the second arc, right, books 5 through 8, and whenever 9 comes out, 9, if it ever comes out for that matter, that this feels like an ending, but there are some other things going on that you can tell that are not wrapped up, right? Particularly with the guy named Asgaroth, but maybe that's a slight spoiler, but I'm sure you don't care because it's not a big deal. Anyways, I really enjoyed that though. Not my favorite still. I think my favorite of the first 4 Rune Lord books would probably still be Brotherhood of the Wolf, which also is the longest of the first 4. And then as far as books, I got this. Oh no, wait, I forgot one. Audiobook I listened to. It's only in audio. It was Impact Winter Season 2. I listened to the first one about a year ago. I really enjoyed this. I'm a sucker for vampires, though. Pun not intended, but kind of is at this point because I say it all the time. But I'm a big fan of vampires. The production is really what makes it here because it's just one trope after the other, essentially, and it's still entertaining. I'm a fan of vampire tropes, but it's fun. There's nothing like amazing though going on here. So Impact Winter Season 2 is included with Audible membership. Anyways, the books I got this week were The Return of the Crimson Guard by Ian C. Esselmont. Because I think after I read Reaper's Gale, which hopefully will be here soon, I'll probably read this next. And then I did get the first 2 books, and I think they're technically YA series, Red Bark and Rock Step by Mark Carlson. I got these at the Renaissance Fair. I went there a week ago. And this author was there, and I was like, oh, well, let me support. I don't read a lot of YA, and I'm not, I can't, if I were to be completely honest, I'm not sure I'll ever get to these. I'm really not sure. But I want to support the author, and they didn't sound terrible. So, in fact, I feel like I could probably enjoy them if I was in the mood for something like YA. I did start A Discourse in Steel. I don't have my copy actually in here, I realize, which is book 2 in the Nyx in Ale stories by Paulus Kemp. They're Sword and Sorcery from about a decade ago. And then I didn't actually get any further in the Weave in the Void this week. I did do some like codicology studies and some Old English studies. I won't bore you with because I'm already going longer than I would like to. But yeah, those are the... Oh, well, that's not true. So I did get more than 3 books. I don't know if you can see up here. These are my normal bookshelves. I kind of rearranged, which reminds me I need to go put my hat back. But I think my daughters might have grabbed it. That's why I forgot to put it back. All these books on the top shelf, like not even the top shelf, like above the bookcase. I can't do this. Up there, the very top, okay, behind the stuff that's on the top. Basically, none of those books were there beforehand. The ones on the very end were the 2 big books, and then the First Law trilogy. But all those books, and there's even more in this other bookshelf over here, I got from one big box. I normally don't do book hauls for reasons, but this kind of doesn't fall into those reasons, and so this was sent to me. I didn't pay for any of them. So my friend Jerry from Illinois was very nice to very kind, very, very kind to send me a box of about 70 books. So I unboxed it last night. That video will be going up on Wednesday. And I'll also have a video recorded already for the next Wednesday, which is a word museum, which I don't think a lot of people care for on my channel. That's me like trying to incorporate philological stuff more along with the literature. I want to get a master's in language and literature, right? That's what I want my channel to be kind of too. That video is word museum on friend or companionship and fellowship, I think, or companions and fellowship, I think is what I titled it. So it's like on the word like friend and companion and fellowship and stuff like that. I have a couple ideas. I have like the script written out for a next word museum, which will be on rings and mathams. A lot of these are Tolkien related. Elf was like the first one I did, right? Then I have one on, I'm not sure what the title, maybe if you guys have any ideas, if you're still watching this, but I wanted to do it on the words for man and like woman and people. There's a lot more words for man than either of the other ones. Very interesting though, what you can find from looking at these words that can mean man, or like what the word man itself means. If you watch my longer intro to philology video, I think I mentioned that man just means person in Old English. It doesn't mean like male, it just means person, right? So so I wanted to get into that, and then also words that did mean male, like at least back in Old English, and ones that meant female, which there's way less, and there's less today to an extent, unless they're derogatory, of course. But I'm not going to go mostly into modern stuff because this is stuff you might see in fantasy, kind of is the idea as well. So anyways, I've been going on for too long. I have some poetry videos to record actually because I have none prepared. But this is Liam from Liam's Lyceum. Happy near the end of July, I suppose. What have you all been up to? How's your week been? So, anyways, I will catch